Latios is coming to Pokemon Unite. Latios as well, but it looks like later, and I'm going to give you everything you need to know about Latios before it drops in Eos Island, which should be just in a couple days here for the anniversary. Latios is an intermediate level special attacker, and it is an attacker. Its progression is Latios from level 1, earning its moves at 1 and 3, then 5, 7, 9, its plus moves at 11 and 13. It should be noticed that Latios has an interesting function where it actually moves faster when it is near Latios. It also has the ability to fly to Latios on the map, which is incredibly powerful when it is on the same team. The ability can only be used when the Pokemon is not in combat, so it can't be fighting and then kind of like run all the way across the map, and it goes on cooldown after being triggered. However, given that this Pokemon is releasing without its counterpart to start, we won't be able to play around with that just yet. At level 1, you get a choice between Confusion and Swift for your moves. Swift deals damage kind of in a large area right there, large pillar towards your opponents. Interesting, this move does not get stopped by Pokemon, wild or otherwise. It will travel through them and do the same amount of damage to all the Pokemon. The reason you saw an extra pop there was my choice spec. So this is actually really nice for doing lots of damage to multiple enemies, clearing multiple pieces of farm, and it has pretty good secure. Your other option is Confusion. It also travels through enemies, it deals damage, and it applies a slowing effect. Both of these moves are decently strong and can definitely set up opportunities for you to secure hits on wild Pokemon used back to back as well. You could do a lot of damage to multiple Pokemon, wild, and your opposing Pokemon, so a decent job of securing early. However, given how powerful its levels are, you may want to play this Pokemon in the central area. Your basic attacks are just that. There is no boosted for this Pokemon. You are autoing and dealing damage. It is all special attack damage, so it would work with a Curse Incense. Also, all special attack that you can give this Pokemon would give this Pokemon more damage with its basics. We'll talk more about items a little later. At level 5, you have your choice between Dragon Pulse and Draco Meteor, and this is probably the biggest choice for this Pokemon. Draco Meteor is a long-range sort of damage raining from the sky, a Draco Meteor, if you will, and then Dragon Pulse is more of a dash and auto attack enhancement. So let's show Dragon Pulse right here. You use it, you get a little bit of a dash, and then you can see that gauge ticking down under your Pokemon. You then get a more powerful auto attack, right? You see this big beam that you shoot out there that deals more damage. You'll also notice that at level 5, you unlock Aeon Power, and you can see the Aeon Power ticking up every time I'm hitting this Latios with my boosted right there. You can see it's at 12 at the bottom of the screen. It is now at 15 at the bottom of the screen. You gain Aeon Power in one of two ways, either hitting with this move right here or its counterpart, Draco Meteor, on an enemy Pokemon, not a wild Pokemon, or KOing wild Pokemon. The more Aeon Power you have, the more powerful this first move you get is going to be. You can see we are at 24 stacks right now. As soon as I hit the 25th stack, I will begin to shoot these orbs out with my attack right there. You can see it, these two orbs that are flying and hitting my opponents. Every 25 stacks of this, I'm going to gain an additional orb that deals damage to my opponents. So there is a huge reason to be fighting, you know, really aggressively with enemies when you have your Aeon Power unlocked. Again, the more you are able to KO wild Pokemon, as you can see right here, I gain 2 stacks, and the more you're able to hit your opponents, you are able to charge up your Aeon Power, making you stronger and stronger and stronger. If you were able to continue going for longer than a 10-minute match, you could max this up all the way to 999 stacks. In fact, it looks like it actually goes even further than that. Of course, this would never happen in a match, but this does create a really interesting situation. Very similar to a Pokemon like Tinkaton, the more you are able to stack this up, the more powerful you will be as the match goes on. As you can see, we are now at 100 stacks of Aeon Power, so you can see how many extra orbs fly out and deal damage to your opponent in a sure hit. It is incredibly powerful. You are going to be focusing on this throughout the game. At level 11, you get your plus move for Dragon Pulse, which will increase the damage you do based on a percentage of your opponent's max HP. So this will help you pick up KOs on anyone, but also shred some of the tankier targets in the game. Your other option is, again, more of a ranged mage situation. That is Draco Meteor. You start by raining down 2 meteors on your opponents, but again, the more Aeon power you generate, the more meteors will rain down. As you can see, with 80 stacks right here, 75 being the breakpoint, you rain more and more meteors down on your opponent. So just like your other move, you're going to want to be charging this up as much as you can. KOing wild Pokemon is one way to get it, and hitting your opponents with that move, Draco Meteor, is another. The plus version of this move at level 11 also adds max HP damage to this move. So just like the other move, this will add max HP damage. This feels like, again, more of the ranged mage setup that you're powering up from afar, while the other move is more in and out, dashing, fighting your opponents. It kind of feels a little more like an auto attack or like a Cinderace or something. At level 7, you get the choice between Luster Purge and Telekinesis, and these feel like the less impactful choices, even though both of these moves are quite cool. It does feel like the Dragon Pulse Draco Meteor is really the choice of your kit. Let's talk about Luster Purge. Luster Purge will send out a ball of light that explodes kind of near the end of it there in that big area of effect. You also can cast it again early and have it blow up kind of right away to deal some damage. Luster Purge has an interesting interaction with Latios. Luster Purge will actually mark the target. The target being marked will allow you to deal more damage to it as yourself, Latios, but if you have Latios on your team, they will also benefit from that mark. As you can see, before the Luster Purge, I do 247 damage with an auto. After the Purge, I deal 296 damage. So extra damage now that they're marked, and if you had an ally Latios on your team, they would also take advantage of this. Your level 13 for Luster Purge is pretty basic. It's going to increase the duration the target is marked, which could be pretty nice for some of your damage, for prolonged fights, marking multiple enemies, and of course your Unite move, which is pretty cool and we'll talk about here in a minute. Your next move option is Telekinesis. This will cast out in front of you and stop at a Pokemon you hit, wild or enemy Pokemon. If you do hit them, it will apply a slowing effect, but then also let you cast this move again. If you hit the same Pokemon again, you will stun them briefly, as you can see right there with the stars above their head. However, if you cast it again and hit another Pokemon, this could be wild or enemy, they will actually get pulled together, and they have a kind of knock up and small stun right there, which is really cool. It's a very fun move. It definitely feels like Telekinesis and Draco Meteor work really well together, but I do think you could use a lot of these moves in any combination. This just feels like more of a long range mage type build. However, you could do the same thing with Luster Purge at long range, right? Telekinesis plus at level 13 is going to have an increased slowing effect. And again, I do think this move will set up some super annoying moments in fights, and actually the distance that you can pull targets is surprisingly long. This is too long right here. They do get pulled towards each other, but they will not run into each other. However, they actually get pulled further than you would think in some of these situations and end up bouncing into each other in some really fun ways. Now for Latios' Unite move. It's very cool. It is a lock-on Unite move that will target this Pokemon that you lock it onto. It cannot target a wild Pokemon, and it will travel through any Pokemon in the way to deal damage to them. No matter how far you go, it will shoot out and deal damage to that Pokemon. It has a really interesting effect with Latios, which is not obviously able to be used right when this drops, but both of these Pokemon on the same team will actually use their Unites in unison in some crazy ways. If we happen to be using this not against each other right here, but at the same target, it would actually explode in a larger area effect, which would be really fun. The other thing that this move does is it does reset your move cooldowns once you use it, so you can cast it, then reset your move cooldowns and move in for a big fight. You will obviously be able to pick up some big KOs with this move across the map for some serious damage. It's like a snipe shot, but you don't have to hit, and again, it travels through targets. So you can cast this on a target and you could be moving around, wild Pokemon could be in the way, it does not matter, travels through them, dealing damage, and hits the target. A very powerful move. Anything that is a sure hit, long range snipe is very, very powerful, and it will be really cool to see this move used with Latios if you ever happen to get both of them on the same team with draft, which would be pretty hard. Again, I think the two playstyles for this Pokemon are going to be sort of an aggressive auto attacker with Dragon Pulse, moving in, dealing damage with these attacks, and trying to build up as many stacks as you possibly can, or the long range mage, dealing damage with Draco Meteor from afar, still hitting with some autos, possibly using Telekinesis or Luster Purge, and again, trying to stack up your Meteor so that more and more fall throughout the fights. For held items, I think there are going to be a lot of ways to go with this Pokemon. I do think extra cooldown might be very, very nice, especially for the Dragon Pulse build. That way you can charge that up even faster. But it's also possible things like Slick Spoon, Wise Glasses are just going to be very, very key. So you're dealing more and more damage with your special attack. We won't know early on if stacking is good enough until we kind of know the scaling of this Pokemon. But in general, dealing more damage is always a good thing. So stacking special attack specs will probably not be bad at all. However, I do think there could be a very, very huge benefit to having reduced cooldowns, because the difference between stacking more Aeon power could be having those cooldowns or not. For boost emblems, I would recommend a setup somewhat like this. This is green-black. You're going to have 6 green, 7 black. It will reduce cooldown and give you more special attack. There are possibilities that there are some hidden mechanics in the math that we will find as we go on, but I think this will be a solid setup no matter what. Again, once Latios comes to the game, there will be even more cool interactions between these two Pokemon, but I'm guessing they're going to do one event and then the next month, the next event for the Pokemon. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Yeehaw to you and yours, and I'll see you all next time. We did it.